The total supply of Bitcoin is 21 million coins. The total supply of XRP is 100 billion. But if XRP had just 21 million coins, the value of an XRP would be $2,380. So why is XRP's price so low in relation to the Bitcoin price? Well, in this video, we're going to get into some of the reasons why Bitcoin has been so favored and is so far ahead in terms of price than XRP. And that should give us a little signal and signs of what XRP needs to do in order to reach those higher prices that we're looking for. So the first one we're going to start with is really a public perception. And I think people view Bitcoin as a store of value. And this is a really interesting way of looking at it, because Bitcoin itself, is supposed to be there to not only store value, but also at the time to transact, to be able to work in a decentralized way versus, the traditional finance and the banking system. But what was built from this first mover in Bitcoin was a narrative, and that narrative was a store of value, digital gold in a way. And we can't underestimate how valuable that narrative has been for Bitcoin. In my mind, it's the same type of thing that happens with the US dollar. This is a dollar because this is a dollar, right? We're just kind of saying that. And you can do the same thing, and the same thing has been done for Bitcoin. This is a store of value because it's a store of value, right? There's no real depth to that. It doesn't, it just because it has been said that it is that means it is. And Bitcoin really has this going for it. And so when you look at XRP, we understand, and we've said this for quite a while, that the true value of XRP will be realized when XRP starts to be held and, stored away, actually being held as a store of value. This is what creates those astronomical price movements. It's not the transactions of XRP, because XRP tokens are only taken away for 3 to 5 seconds at a time and then put right back. It's not the transaction volume that will increase the price for XRP. It's actually the public perception of XRP being a store of value. And this is one thing that Bitcoin has going for it that XRP doesn't. Another thing, and this is the most frustrating one, is the regulatory clarity. Bitcoin somehow has all the regulatory clarity. Now, we've seen XRP get regulatory clarity, being that it's not in and of itself a security. And so you can look at that and say, well, XRP is really the only one with true legal clarity. It's been through the court cases and come out on the other side. So how is it at this point that Bitcoin has still regulatory clarity, but XRP still really doesn't? In a way, we have it on a legal perspective, but the perception from these larger companies, XRP just doesn't have the free reign that Bitcoin does. And again, this comes down to it. This tells you why there are people pulling the strings, because none of this makes sense. None of it makes sense. It goes around that Bitcoin is a store of value just because it's a store of value. So we can see that things happen just because they're said and then everyone's told to believe that. And just because it's been said, it is. The same thing seems to be going for the regulatory side of things. Bitcoin has regulatory approval in some sort of way just because it does, because it has been said that it does. But in reality, it doesn't. XRP truly is the only one that has it. And so what my conclusion of this is that the public perception, it's just the perception, the narrative that is spun is actually the most important thing about all of this. It's not about the utility of any of the assets. It's not about how good they are. It's about the narrative that is spun about them. Another thing that Bitcoin has that XRP doesn't have is this true, again, narrative of decentralization. Now, the XRP ledger is a decentralized thing, and it's open source, so people can copy it and if they really want to. But the narrative being spun about XRP and Ripple is that it is centralized because Ripple own a significant amount of XRP. The same thing isn't dissimilar in Bitcoin, right? The Satoshi Nakamoto, there's very few wallets that hold the vast majority of all the Bitcoin. But for some reason, even though those are the same, why is it treated differently? It's a narrative. The narrative is different. I would argue that Bitcoin has more centralization than XRP does, but because the narrative is the other way around, the public follow that narrative. And XRP, as a result, is never treated as this decentralized thing. Everyone looks at it as a centralized move in crypto. So XRP, Ripple, or maybe even me and you have to push this idea, this narrative into play that XRP is decentralized. The whole XRP ledger is decentralized because it needs to become top of mind for the public to view XRP and the XRPL in that way for it to become a reality. Another thing that Bitcoin has really dipped its toes into, that it hasn't really fully gone the whole way with this, and I'll tell you why in a second, is global recognition and adoption. Of course, Bitcoin has all of that recognition, but the adoption, that's tough. When you look from the institutional side, we're developing adoption for Bitcoin, but the problem is, and this is the big thing, Bitcoin's just not that good at doing the things that it requires to be adopted. Right? It was good at the time when it launched. When the whole Bitcoin thing launched, it was a move away from centralized finance and into decentralized finance. It played a role at that time. But that role has since, been nullified by better technology. And so XRP and Ripple really need to continue pushing on this adoption scale and have this global recognition for all of the things that I've said, being decentralized, being seen as a store of value, having regulatory clarity. All of these things are the narrative that we need pushed in the world of crypto. Another thing is that the Bitcoin network and the liquidity is significantly higher. So we would need more volume and more liquidity. So ultimately we would need a larger market size for XRP in order to start competing in that capacity. We need more developers, which might, we need more apps to be built on the XRPL. We need more of that ecosystem to be built out. So there needs to be more incentives for people to develop on these blockchains. And there needs to be more support for people trying to build their own platforms and programs on the blockchain as well. It needs to be accessible by people so that they can easily start a business, easily start something, even if you don't know how to code. These are the types of things that would need to be in place for the XRP ledger, for people to start coming in and create that network effect. And then one of the big ones, and it all feeds into this narrative, media impact and the cultural impact. Bitcoin has had this cultural impact on the world because the media has promoted it, because there's a narrative that's been spun and Bitcoin is because it is. The same thing needs to happen for XRP. And I think because we don't pull the strings, because we're not controlling any of that stuff, we just have to wait. In a way, we kind of just have to wait, sit back and wait for the strings to be pulled in our direction. And so that means increasing the popularity of different influencers talking about XRP. There's tons of people out here that do a tremendous job communicating XRP. We need to give them more subscribers, more views, more likes, and it drives this overall view of XRP, which is the narrative that needs to be spun, that Bitcoin has already spun up for themselves. The same thing needs to be done for XRP if you want to see true price appreciation in this asset. And with that, I hope you understand by now, it's not about the technology, actually. Yes, XRP does the payments the best in the world, and we have more partnerships than anyone else. And yes, we have all of that coming for us, but ultimately what is needed is a narrative to be spun on a series of topics that I've talked about today to push the price of XRP up into the global sphere, into the normal conversation of everyday person, and that reframing of the idea that XRP isn't a transactional currency, which it can be and is best at that, but we need it to be spun into the idea that XRP can be a store of value as well. That is what will create astronomical price action. And when the bull run comes, more people are involved, more narratives are spun, and the prices go up. You see how that works? These things naturally happen in a bull run, but if we want it to continue to larger heights, we need to create more of a narrative, more of a conversation. Now, if you're thinking about the future and the idea of taking profits in crypto just to have some benefit from all this pain that you've endured over the last few years, then you need to make sure you've got an exit strategy. In fact, on Monday, I guess I'll announce it here then, shall I? I'm launching the BlockFlow program, which is a program I've put over 3 months of work into. It's an incredible resource for anyone who's involved. It's a 6-month program where the first part of that program, you essentially build out your exit strategy and get to a point where you're making sure that you take some profits in this bull run. And as I will say continually, a good exit strategy allows you to hold for the massive price appreciation when XRP is viewed as a store of value, but also allows you to take some profits in the short term, not only to benefit your life in the short term, because look, face it, we're all going to die. And we've only got a limited amount of time, but also allows you, when you take profits, it allows you to reinvest at the bottom of the market. And this is all the stuff we go into in the BlockFlow program. It's an incredible thing here. I invite you to learn more, clicking the link in the description. See if you want to join the program. Like I said, we're launching this coming Monday. That's the 8th of July. And I'd love to see you in there. We do a call with every single person. Yes, it's a sales call, but it's also an interview to make sure you're the right type of person with the right problems and a large enough desire to fix those problems using the program. We're just kind of getting a gauge for that on the calls. So feel free to book a call. If the calls are all fully booked, which they have been for the last 6 weeks, by the way, there is a link on that page that you go to that will allow you to enter a wait list. And I'll email you whenever there's available spaces. So with that said, let's create that narrative for XRP. Let's push it into the mainstream so that we can let the technology do its thing, because we know it's very good. We know it's the best. We just need that narrative spun. So let's go and do it.